Hi guys, Dr. Drwendydearborne here with another episode of Food Beyond Its Nutrition. And guys, on the plate today, we have some curried fish. Actually, it's mackerel and Mediterranean sea bass cooked in curry and coconut milk. Before we get started, I just wanted to say something about seafood in general. It's vitally important that when you purchase your seafood, it doesn't smell. Fresh fish doesn't smell. What I would say is that you'll have certain fish that might have an aroma, like mackerel has a distinct aroma, so do sardines. The more oily fish have a distinct aroma, but it doesn't smell. There's a difference between fish and seafood smelling. So no matter where you get your fish from, where you get your seafood from, it doesn't matter if it's fresh water or if it's salt water or even if it has been farm raised. The fish must not smell. It also needs to be firm to the touch. And if you're buying a whole fish, the eyes need to be clear and the gills need to be nice and rosy and healthy. Okay, guys? And so that's vitally important. Vitally important. No smelling fish. If the fish smells, that means that the decomposition process has started. You want fresh fish that doesn't smell. Okay, guys? To cook this delicious dish, curried fish in coconut milk, we're actually going to need either a whole fish or fish steaks with the bone in. The fillet of fish, if the fish has been filleted, the cooking preparation would need to be different. Having the bone in helps the fish to not disintegrate during the stewing and or the braising process. So guys, for this recipe, you need fish steaks with bone in or the whole fish with the bone in. For this recipe, the fillet won't work well. So guys, let's get to it. To create the curried fish, I have two types of fish, as I had said before. My husband doesn't like mackerel, and I love mackerel. So he has sea bass, Mediterranean sea bass, and I have mackerel. One of the things that I did do is I have rubbed the fish with some lime. There's actually some lime juice in the bowl, if you can see that, right? With a little bit of salt. Well, that's not a little bit of salt, that's a lot of salt. And, you know, rub this over the fish, and this is how we clean the fish. Actually, this is how we clean meat, period, to be honest with you. A little bit of lime, a little bit of salt, right? And then we rinse this off, and then we're going to season it. I've got a whole group of seasonings that I want to show you. But before I leave this on here too long, because, of course, lime is an acid, and it will actually start cooking the fish, I'm going to rinse this off, and I'll be right back. Okay guys, I have rinsed the fish and I've just kind of given it a quasi-pat dry. So now we're going to get into the seasonings for this curried fish, okay? On the plate, I actually have some chopped onions, and that's half a large onion. And I say chopped, it's sliced. You can chop or slice it. I have some tomatoes, that's one romaine tomato. Is it romaine? One Roma. One Roma tomato. This is some fresh thyme. I've got a couple of sprigs. And I have the main ingredient here, which is curry powder. To assist and support in that, we have the following. I'm going to use a couple of teaspoons of garlic. Let me just put this up here. And that's fresh garlic. And that's finely minced. This is a teaspoon of granulated garlic and granulated onion. Yes, guys, we've got onion, fresh and dry. It kind of boosts the flavor. I have 2 teaspoons of cumin powder, roasted cumin powder or jeera. I have 1 teaspoon of cumin seeds. Yes, guys, it just boosts. I have 1 tablespoon ginger powder, and or you could use ginger paste. And I have 1 teaspoon of hildi or turmeric. And of course I had the lime here to show you about washing. I have salt. I've got some sea salt here. Black pepper. Coconut milk. I'm not sure if I'll use all of the coconut milk, but I have 2 8-ounce containers of coconut milk. I have my favorite avocado oil. Better than bouillon, no base chicken. Taking everything to the next level for me. So right guys, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to start this process. Please bear in mind that fish can be really delicate, in particular something like mackerel. It can be delicate. So I've got a glove here because the actual turmeric can definitely stain. And what we're going to do is, the first thing that we're going to put onto the fish is some salt. And that's the first thing we're going to do. We're going to add about half a teaspoon of salt. And remember that the salt that I had used before, it had been washed off. I'm actually going to add, and really the first thing to do is the salt. That's the very first thing, and then how you add it is how you add your seasonings after that. But I'm gonna add my onions, break those up a little bit. I'm gonna add my tomatoes. And bear in mind that the bouillon goes in while we're cooking it, and of course the coconut goes in while we're cooking it. The same with the oil on their fish or their meat. You can use this same recipe for meat, fish, tofu. You can use it for any protein, shrimp. You can use this same recipe. So I'm gonna add the cumin seeds. I'm gonna add the ginger. I'm gonna add the curry powder, and this is 2 tablespoons of pre-made curry powder. But that's the brand that I use. Okay guys? So 2 tablespoons of curry powder. This is the garlic and onion granules. That's a teaspoon of each. That's my hildi or my turmeric. My cumin powder. And I'm going to use two teaspoons of fresh garlic. I'm going to put the thyme in. I'm going to use about a teaspoon of black pepper. And this actually smells really good already. We're going to give this a really nice mix. We're going to give this a really nice mix, and then we're going to actually put it into, we're going to cover it with a plate. I almost probably use the plate that I just put over there. And leave it in the fridge to marinate. Now you can actually do this overnight if you want. I'm going to leave this for a couple of hours most probably while I do some other stuff. So this is something that you can either do the night before or when you get up in the morning. This is what you're looking for. Now I'm going to show you this. I'm going to do this, but typically this isn't something that I do. Some people, so that the marinade will adhere to whatever protein you have, some people will add a little bit of oil. Typically I don't do that. I don't do that. I'll just throw it in the skillet, as you'll see, and let it do its thing. And again, be kind of gentle, you know, be gentle with it. And yeah, that's about it. It smells, guys, you should smell this. All the spices, all the flavors. It smells really good. Make sure that, you know, everywhere has some of the seasoning, and I really mean everywhere has some of the seasoning. Very, very important. Very important. And then guys, like I said, we're gonna leave this and allow it to marinate. For me, it's gonna be a couple of hours until I get to it, but you do that and you leave it in the refrigerator. I just wanna say this, if I had some pimentos, they haven't arrived. If I had some pimentos, I'd put pimento in it. And that's Jamaican allspice. So if I had some, I would have put some in it, but it didn't arrive. So that's the only thing that's missing. So that being said, guys, I'm actually gonna cover this up with the plate. And I'm gonna put it in the refrigerator. All right, so we have the flame on. And of course, guys, you know I'm using a wok. You can definitely use a heavy bottomed, you know, a Dutch oven, that sort of thing. My heat's on, and I'm going to add maybe about 2 to 3 tablespoons of oil to my wok. I may need more, I won't know until I get there. And what I'm going to do first and foremost is with the fish, I'm actually going to remove the seasoning. I'm gonna shake the seasoning off because I don't want that going in yet. I just want to slightly brown and sear the fish. All right, so I don't want that going in yet, because I'm going to cook that seasoning down. That smells divine. Oops. Right. And I'm going to brown that ever so slightly. Then I'm going to take it off, and then I'm going to actually cook the seasoning. I'm going to cook all this stuff, and I'm going to cook that for maybe about 10-15 minutes. Make my little masala. You control your flame. Not yet. I want this to brown. There we go. That's what I'm looking for. That kind of look. That's exactly what I'm looking for. That kind of look. Mackerel doesn't do that well, but hey, it's life. Yep. Brown, just like that. That's what I'm looking for. I forgot to tell you that we will be using is potatoes. I took 2 potatoes and I cubed them up. All right, guys. I'm going to remove this from the flame, and then I'm going to actually start cooking the masala. This is the mackerel, and my hubby does not like mackerel. He a fish snob. He likes sea bass. And that's what you're looking for, guys. Just something really light, just to brown it off ever so slightly. It helps to seal everything in. And we're going to set that aside, because that's going to go back in when we start the cooking process for the masala. So I'm going to take my onions. I'm going to take everything really and put it in. And we're going to start cooking this. And this is where the magic happens. You might need a bit more oil, you might not. But we're going to cook this and get the, oh, smell that thyme. We're going to cook this, and we're going to cook this down until the onions become translucent. And then we're going to put the lid on, and we're going to let it steam and do its thing. If you don't do this, if you miss out on this part, you miss the roasting and the toasting of all the herbs and spices that you used. And they say it can taste raw, but what that means is it doesn't taste like everything has come together. So once again, I'm going to cook this until it has all come together, and you'll see exactly what I mean when it's done. Okay guys, you know when your masala is done because it starts releasing the oil and the side of the pot. Let me just turn that down just a tad, guys. Didn't want to burn it. Get to this stage. Yeah, the side of the wok is starting to get shiny, and again the oil is being released that we've been using to cook this down. And see, it's got all nice and mushy and the onions are soft. I'm gonna add that was just about a teaspoon of my bouillon. Right, guys? And again, remember, everything that you add like this, every sort of concentrate has its own salt. It has salt, so please bear that in mind. All right, I'm gonna just mix that in a little bit. I am going to add my potatoes, because I'm getting ready to add the coconut milk, so I'm going to add the potatoes. And I'm okay if they're a bit mushed up. I'm not mad. They don't have to be all pristine. I'm not mad with you if that's what happens. All right. And so I'm just going to give that a quick stir. That's nothing too crazy. I'm going to add my coconut milk. All right. I actually think I may add a little bit more. Let's bring this to a boil. Oops. Let's bring this to a boil. I'm going to add, I think, a little bit more coconut milk. I'm going to add just a little bit more coconut milk. Not a lot. Maybe about another 4 ounces. And that should take care of that. Alright guys, and I'm going to put the fish back, bring it all to a nice rolling boil, then turn it down and let that simmer for about 20 to 25 minutes until the fish is done. So let's put the fish back. Let's put the fish back. Let's put the fish back. There you go, guys. And we are going to bring that, as I said, to a rolling boil. And the fish and the potatoes should be cooked at the same time. If it looks a little thick, add some more coconut milk. If it looks like it's going to thicken too much on you, add some coconut milk. But right now, this looks good to me. This looks good. Right. All right, so I'm going to cover this up. And I'm going to turn it on low and let it simmer for 20 minutes. Okay guys, here's our curried fish. It looks good, it smells good. I'm just going to garnish this off. If I put it in a dish, this is exactly what I would have done. Garnished it off with a little bit of coconut milk. Put some of the cilantro, some chopped cilantro in it, some green onions, and guys, that is a wrap. It smells absolutely phenomenal. The fish is nice, it's cooked all the way through, it's tender, potatoes are tender. This is curried fish. Absolutely phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal.